Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip. What is going on, everybody out there in the On the Chain community? Tell you what, something interesting might be unfolding in global finance. That's right. Signals from Washington and the launch of new infrastructure on networks like the XRP Ledger suggest blockchain is moving from theory, you got that, to real world deployment. You've got the White House actually releasing a cyber strategy, signaling U.S. interest in blockchain leadership. That's right. U.S. taking a lead role in blockchain. And you know it's going to be great. Flare is adding programmability to expand what the ecosystem can do. Governments are starting to view blockchain as strategic infrastructure. And the bigger question that we're going to talk about tonight is whether a new financial system is beginning to form in real time. And what does that mean for all of us? I don't know. Chip, you ready to kick this thing off?
We're about to find out.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Oh, look at that put in. Luke's coming in. We got Art coming in. We got celebration in the house. Chad Nauseum. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. Party going on right here.
Right.
The celebration.
We're gonna dig deep into some Flare.
Yeah, some cool stuff's going on with Flare. Crypto Eddie put this out on the socials, and she was saying, like what excites Hugo Philion. And it's interesting when we start talking about the programmability of the XRP Ledger versus, let's say, like a Solana. So this was kind of the one interesting that she. And again, this is the representative from Yellow that's that's having this conversation. Here we go. And they were both at XRP Australia. Here we go.
Now, XRP Ledger has recently displaced Solana as a bigger RWA chain in terms of the rankings. XRP Ledger does not have the same kind of programmability as either Solana, nor does it have the privacy that Canton offers. So what I'm really excited by, especially with the new escrow feature that has been created on XRP Ledger, is the ability for those RWA assets that are issued on the XRP Ledger to be utilized in Flare's compute layer with privacy and compliance.
And for all of you that are in the U.S., privacy, we say privacy. We don't say privacy. We say aluminum. We don't say aluminium.
Might need to interpret what
just like on the world stage, we own the language now. Sure, it's called English, but
of course we did. Well, we perfected it.
There's 345 million of us that speak it. There's what, maybe 55 million in the UK. Sorry, we own that, just like we own the rest of the world stage as well. We saw how Starmer stumbled and tripped over himself. So, but it's cool to see that, because I mean that's what Flare is really coming in and offering too. Because the privacy is really key.
It's huge.
It's gonna be really key, and he's right about the real world assets and tokenization, but that's something that, man, right out of the gate that XRP was really there for. It's what Ripple's focusing a lot on, tokenization. It's a massive market. Everything will be tokenized. Everything will be tokenized. Everything from real estate to commodities to securities. It's all going to be on chain, and it makes a lot of sense to do it that way.
That's right. That's right. Speaking of Flare, good evening. Good evening. Joe Bud said, speaking of Flare, look at its daily chart for its entire existence. What do you see?
I see nothing but upside. That's what I personally see myself. I see nothing but growth. If you remember, like Jeff and I know somebody in the XRP community that someone said, hey, you got 25 grand, put it down right now on XRP. And he bought at 0.006. And everybody was going 0.006, stupid. And then you're going to see once Flare eclipses 50 cents, $3, $4, you're going to be like, wait, I had a chance to buy it when it was under 2 cents. You're going to be like, and it's not financial advice. I'm just like, it's pretty much what usually happens to a lot of these now. Is it guaranteed? Not at all. You got to do your own research on that. What's this one? Solari says, not too sure what Zhao does. My wife and I each joined. That's great. Mel, because you guys, I won't be voting. My membership was important to you. No, I think you should vote, though, too. I think you should have a vote and vote on what's important to the community. I appreciate you joining there, Solari. But again, that's for everybody in the community to have a voice in the XRP community. Azada runs a validator, so you can actually vote there too. Like, hey, here's an amendment. Now, if you don't have an opinion on it, then don't vote. But I would encourage everybody to vote as proposals come in after 1,000. But I do appreciate you both joining, and there will be a lot of cool things too. And the other part of it is that to build up the treasury to the point of where the ZAO starts investing in, let's say, companies, or takes a piece of it, and as more money flows in the treasury, at some point you can vote for a distribution if there's enough distribution. So there could be a monetization part of this down the line. And again, the DAO itself, a lot of the DAOs went wrong, especially the Ethereum DAOs. They built actual tokens, right, on Ethereum, and the problem was that was control. It was all token based, where the ZAO DAO, the only token is XRP. There's already a token. ZAO doesn't have its own token per se. So that's really the kind of benefit from it. And it's also under the framework of Wyoming, the DAO. It's the first and the biggest one in the nation. It's got a whole legal framework of it. So it's rooted. And then there's also protection for its members. So just a little bit there on that. Consider a donation, can do that too, but also consider that if you're in the XRP community, which I see by your spaceman with the XRP.
And you now have a vote.
You know, you don't have to vote, but I would encourage you to get involved. But I really do appreciate you doing that, just because you saw it here. It's always a fantastic thing, and it's $10 USD, and everybody here should be
10 XRP.
That's no, not 10 XRP. $10, the equivalent of $10, which whatever the equivalent of XRP makes up. You pay an XRP, but it's $10 USD. So whatever XRP is that day, but it's not 10 XRP. So just to be there as far as that. So whatever
XRP, I think it's like $1.36 maybe.
I don't even know. I haven't checked it about a week. So I always figure when it goes up, so I'll know about it, right? So I don't really.
Someone will say something.
I price watch it when it gets over 350. It's
$1.35 right now.
Yeah. So there you go. We cool. But you didn't answer my question. Honestly, the chart does not lie. It shows what has happened. Yeah. Well, you remember a lot of it's still happening at this moment, but given where Flare's roadmap is, I mean, has it done much?
Yeah.
It hasn't done much at all.
No, that's all based on speculation, Chip. You know, you think about where Flare's at. What has Flare done to start generating revenue? You know, they're kind of in pre-revenue stages, but they're building
very early in the process.
Way early. They're building some massive.
We're gonna bring Hugo on here. We'll talk to him about it.
We need to talk a lot more in depth. But any project right now that you're getting in is all purely speculative, and that's the whole point. Especially when it's based off the crypto asset.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
Blair, is going to be building on the XRPL chip.
Yeah, it's 100%. They've done more for the XRP community than almost anything going. Even projects on the XRPL, giving you yield on your XRP is phenomenal. And then you got all these free tokens. So what do you? I mean, you got money out of air.
Yeah, like with anything else, don't invest what you're not willing to lose.
From heaven, it just like rained down on you. There it is, ready for the taking. So Coinbase. Yeah. Or CoinDesk, I should say. CoinDesk, which is a trade publication for crypto. But check this out. Florida becomes the first U.S. state to pass stablecoin framework. Now the bill heads to Governor DeSantis for signature. Everything's happening in Florida and Texas, it seems, Jeff. Almost everything good is happening in one of those two states.
The great free state of Florida.
Look at that right there. Rapid Response, which is part of Trump's team. Trump's cyber strategy for America. And this is big.
This puts us number one, Chip. Number one.
It's kind of just like it didn't get like much notice, if you didn't see this come out. So I don't like the way it's written. It's written in this. This is what I did. I took it and kind of just dissected it a little bit, put it into a little bit of a summary, and then kind of broke it into some bullet points here. But and then we'll kind of go through it section by section. But the document really comes down to outlining what the administration's cybersecurity strategies focus on, which is maintaining the technological dominance of the United States, defending national infrastructure, and deterring any kind of cyber adversaries. And the strategy emphasizes using the full power of government and the private sector, collaboration, which you don't hear too much, either one or the other, to counter cyber threats, modernize federal systems, secure critical infrastructure, and then lead in emerging technologies. When it comes to AI, quantum computing, and ultimately blockchain, the plan centers really around 6 policy pillars, which were designed to strengthen national cybersecurity, increase the offensive and defensive cyber capabilities, and ensure the United States remains the global leader in digital innovation and cyber power. So, Jeff,
Really, this is so important. As we dig into it,
let's break it down. We'll trade off on this, Jeff.
It's the U.S. on leadership. We need leadership role, dominant leadership role. Yeah, go ahead.
We'll take turns on this. Go ahead, and I'll read this first one here. So, introduction to strategic context. So, the strategy really begins by framing cyberspace as this critical domain of national power, economic activity. It argues that cyber threats from adversaries, criminals, and authoritarian regimes really are a threat to the U.S. security, the economic stability, and democratic values. So the short explanation here is the administration positions cyberspace as essential to America's economic strength, military power, and technological leadership. And some of the key points are that cyberspace is central to U.S. economic growth. The cyber adversaries target citizens, businesses, healthcare systems, financial institutions, and infrastructure. Cybercrime and espionage impose large economic costs, and they disrupt services. And then the strategy aims to address cyber threats more aggressively than any prior approaches. And it's really kind of cohesive here. The main takeaway here is that cybersecurity is treated as a core national security priority, requiring stronger government action and coordination with industry. And I think that's really key there, Jeff. What are your thoughts on this so far?
So, number one, the U.S. taking a dominant leadership role in cyber, whether it's AI, crypto, blockchain. There's going to be more. They also mentioned quantum. This is such a critical, point. Previous administrations ignored the development of it. The Democrat leadership, Democrat representatives in Congress, in the House and the Senate, have done everything they can to undermine the objective of putting America and the United States in a leadership role. The U.S. has been dominant as a leader in tech, and we need to maintain that. If we don't maintain that, not to undermine anybody else's contributions, but from an America first agenda, in order for us to win, in order for us to grow financially, and also then to the benefit of our allies throughout the world, we have to have that leadership role, Chip. And this is such a departure from if Trump wasn't in office right now. I mean, the world would be in pandemonium. It'd be absolute chaos, but this would definitely not be happening right now. We'd heard from the likes of Elizabeth Warren and others and Gary Gensler. We know exactly what their intent was. There were too many within the crypto community, that tried to speak out and try to make some sort of claim that the Democrats were actually pro-crypto, which we all know 100% was false. And this is it. So moving forward, Chip, this is what's important, so
100%. Go ahead and take this next one, Jeff.
I'll go through this one and then get some commentary from you on this. But this is the strategic approach. Moving forward, strategic approach. This section explains how the administration plans to respond to cyber threats through coordinated action across government agencies and partnerships with private industry and allies, right? Short explanation. The strategy emphasizes proactive cyber defenses and the use of multiple tools of national power, not just technical cyber response. The key points here: the U.S. will act proactively to disable cyber threats. Responses may include diplomatic, economic, and operational action beyond cyberspace. That could be, you can read what that means. Private sector partnerships are essential for innovation and defense. Regulations will be adjusted to accelerate innovation and security improvements. The U.S. will expose and counter propaganda, espionage, and influence campaigns. The takeaway here: cybersecurity will involve whole of government and whole of industry coordination with proactive actions against adversaries. What are your thoughts? How does this get into
Well, I
things.
think the thing here is really key too, is usually it's kind of what I was saying before, is that you have this strategy that is one of collaboration. Because the first time we've ever seen, what we saw in the last prior administration with the 4 years before that, and even before that, crypto wasn't even really a thing. But this is the coordination of not only the cyber approach, right, the infrastructures, the healthcare systems, all that kind of stuff, but also what's happening on blockchain. And right here, you can see the involvement when the White House brings leaders. They brought Ripple in, they brought Coinbase in, they brought a lot of the people that either are running projects at big crypto companies, crypto cybersecurity companies. So it's collaborative approach, and a lot of it is getting outsourced to orgs that can do it better. And I know there's been a lot of strategic initiatives from inside, but it's the first time you've had something cohesive, and honestly, it seems a little bit overdue to have something cohesive. But I love the fact that there's collaboration in this. I think that's a huge deal right there. And so let's take a look real quick at the first pillar, which really, if we take the short explanation on this, the pillar really focuses on deterring and disrupting cyber adversaries through offensive operations and coordinated responses. We're talking about like deploying offensive and defensive cyber capabilities, and not always on defense, but you also got to take this offensive approach as well. Disrupting the cybercrime networks and hostile state actors, that has been done on a lot of different levels to raise the cost of cyber aggression through the sanctions and operations, target infrastructure used for cybercrime, and intellectual property theft. We see China's big theft when it comes to that, and also working with allies to impose consequences on adversaries. So the big takeaway here is that the strategy emphasizes deterrence through active disruption of adversaries, not just defense. And I think what are your thoughts, Jeff?
I think that's right. And I was looking at Elian Tron here. He said instead of Space Force, Cyber Force. So I think we need Space Force and Cyber Force.
Right.
And that's one of the things that they're referencing here, whether it becomes another military division, which in fact, maybe we actually need that because of the fact that things are going to this cyber level. And it is a national security issue, which is why, if you digitize currency without it being, with there being programmability and the possibility of some sort of a cybercrime committed against your currency, then it's a national issue, so that's where, putting it through blockchain, making sure that we have, clear security involved across the board. This isn't just on the defense, and we also have to take in, offensive deterrence approach, which is really important. And also, if you consider, some of the, previous concepts throughout, recent history, if you think about the concept of MAD or you have mutual assured destruction, which was our nuclear deterrent with the Soviets. And that's important. So we need some form of a assured destruction, and that's the disruption of our adversaries. It's like, hey, you want to come and mess with us on a cyber front? Well, guess what? We're going to disrupt your entire infrastructure. So that has to be a part of it. So that's it. We gotta regulate, and that hadn't been happening before, Chip.
No,
We've
that's
let
weird.
these people run amok, from a cyber perspective.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, go ahead and hack everything.
Eiswein says hostile state actors, in other words, Democrats. So
We're seeing that, Chip. What are your thoughts?
We see it all the time. It's really sad. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, Fetterman has been coming out and owning all kinds of he's just talking it's great to hear from somebody who's a Democrat, because it's just very logical stuff. Right? I mean, what are you opposing really? What are you against? He called out some reporter the other day. He was walking down the underground tunnel, and he called and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, your boss must," because the network that was interviewing him, he says, "Your boss must be really torn up that the Ayatollah is no longer with us." He goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Yeah, we know who you support." It was just phenomenal. Go ahead and take this. Go ahead and take pillar 2, Jeff.
So I like this too, promoting common sense regulation, right? So the short explanation here, the administration aims to simplify cybersecurity regulations to reduce compliance burdens and increase agility. Key points here: reduce regulatory complexity for cybersecurity compliance, align regulations with industry capabilities and global standards, address liability concerns, and discourage proactive cybersecurity, maintain protections for privacy and American data. So the takeaway here is cyber policy should enable faster innovation and response rather than slow with excessive regulation. And again, if we look backwards, we saw extensive regulation is what was planned. And here I like the fact maintaining protection for privacy and American data. There's so much going on right now on social media and the news where we're seeing, pretend MAGA, pretend Republicans that are now coming out against Trump. And here's the number one thing that rises right to the top when we're talking about this is maintaining protection for privacy. Again, the America First agenda, not the isolationist stupidity of, America only, because that doesn't work. Isolationism doesn't work, but we have to make sure that we're protecting our home front, and protecting that is maintaining from domestic, not just international. We have to make sure we're maintaining the security of our data and the privacy of our data. And that's really critical across the board.
Yeah, big time. But I think the other key thing there too is the whole idea of the privacy, keeping everything, making sure things are private, but again, it comes down to a national security issue, and it's good that this is coming from the president. And if we dive into pillar 3, which is really modernizing and securing federal government networks, I mean, when was the last time this was even visited? I mean, it's just shocking we haven't been hit hard already. And federal networks will be modernized using advanced cybersecurity technologies and best practices. Where's that going to come from? The private sector. Okay, the government's not going to invent it. They're going to get the best that's available. And implementing zero trust architecture, deploying post-quantum cryptography, transition to a secure cloud infrastructure. I think that's probably present, but I don't know. You probably have a lot of infrastructure that's still on-prem, on-premises type of stuff where you really got to get it in the cloud and secure it. And then really using the AI-powered cybersecurity tools to detect and stop intrusions, right? Be really proactive and sniff it out before it comes down to happening, and improving the procurement processes so that agencies can adopt cutting-edge technology. And if you're doing SaaS sales, procurement is the biggest headache aside from legal, because procurement is the bottleneck where everything comes down to. Everybody can sign off, and procurement will take their lazy, sweet-ass time trying to push things through. And a lot of it has to do with they're not using the right kind of tools, or purchasing a lot of stuff. And this right here, I am totally down on updating the procurement process. So the federal government really has to upgrade these outdated systems. I mean, what we heard about what they were using for the air traffic controllers, systems that were invented in the 70s. So that's getting upgraded, and also modernize cybersecurity technology so that you can remain secure. And AI is going to be a big piece of that. So it's critical, man.
That's right. That's it. And policy number 4 here, pillar 4, secure critical infrastructure. Man, I'm loving this whole thing. There's every part of it. They really thought through it, and they've simplified the understanding of it as well. Sometimes you read through these and you're like, what the hell they just write?
Wow.
Right?
There's so much winning going on, Jeff.
That's it. Exactly. They had to stick to winning. Secure critical infrastructure. Short explanation. Critical infrastructure sectors must be hardened against cyber attacks and supply chain vulnerabilities. They are visualizing the future. The future is now. The future is directly tomorrow. It's not 10 years off. It's all happening in real time. We have to make sure that these things are happening, and we're seeing, this is their objective. This is their plan. So the key points here: protect infrastructure such as energy grid, telecommunication, financial systems, hospitals, water utilities, secure supply chains, and reduce reliance on adversary technologies, strengthen collaboration with state and local governments, improve incident response and recovery capabilities. And then their takeaway here: protecting critical infrastructure is essential because cyber attacks can directly impact everyday services and economic stability. Where do we go from there, Chip? What is this?
Well, I would
Yeah.
say this is something Trump recognized right after COVID, coming out of COVID. During COVID, proved that we're relying on other countries for pharma. We're relying on other countries for all kinds of stuff. I mean, and what ended up getting hit, and really when we couldn't, the country couldn't get back on its feet, only because supply chains were threatened. And what is Trump doing? Bringing big pharma here, everything's going to be made here in some point. So if something does go down, you're not cutting off the knees there, so that the U.S. is like crippled and can't move. And this is a lot of where these tariffs have come into play, because you can either invest in the United States and make it here, or you can pay big tariffs. And it's a lot easier to conduct yourselves internally than it is to try to do it and then deal with big tariffs. Tariffs can change too. So that's why there's $6 trillion being invested in the United States plus, or is it 6 billion? I don't know, but it's a lot of money that have been committed from outside people. And then, so number 5, when we look at this pillar strategy, the superiority, you got to sustain that when it comes to critical and emerging technologies. This strategy prioritizes maintaining U.S. leadership in advanced technologies that shape the future of the landscape. Like, you've got to secure the AI technology ecosystem. That's a big one. You don't want that being infiltrated, because a lot more things today are relying on AI. Promoting the adoption of post-quantum cryptography. We've been hearing about this for a while. Sure, it's a bit off, but if you don't start workshopping and thinking about that now, could be really a bad down the road. Intellectual property and innovation. Trump started talking about this 30 years ago. Companies like China ripping off the U.S. and when it comes to the IP type stuff. And then, so supporting blockchain, cryptocurrency security. You can't be a leader if you got holes in your system. AI systems, make sure that they are developed and deployed securely, and then counter foreign AI platforms that are embedded. Censorship or surveillance, Jeff. This is a huge one right here, because this one right here is what a lot of other countries is doing. This is what Europe's up to. It's what a lot of a lot of countries, censorship and surveillance, because they do not have free speech. They have free speech as long as they agree with it, but that's not free speech. Free speech is all speech, including the stuff you don't agree with. And so the big takeaway here is maintaining leadership in AI, quantum computing, emerging tech, as viewed as critical to national security and economic competitiveness. So you see that strain running through, where it's all comes down to national security. If any of these get compromised, could be big issues.
That's right. So policy pillar 6, build talent and capacity. This is great. Think about, Chip, all the people that the previous administration brought in, the millions and millions. Do they fit into this talent pool? I'll get your commentary after I read this. But
I think you already know, Joe.
Sure. The short explanation: the U.S. must expand its cybersecurity workforce and training programs. I agree with that. Got to train the people, right? We got to understand where we're going. Got to get people trained up on that. And you're not going to learn that stuff in college right now. Develop pipeline of cybersecurity professionals. Where are they going to come from? That's a great question. Get some feedback from me on that. Coordinate training across academia, industry, and government. Expand technical education and workforce development. Align incentives between public and private sector. Recruit the next generation of cyber experts. Takeaway: cyber talent is considered a strategic national asset necessary for long-term security and innovation. So here's a big question for you, Chip. Is this learned in college? Is this self-learned? How do we go about that? Because so much of this stuff has been in development right now, and you've been diving into the AI. Did you have to go to college to learn this AI stuff? As new technology drops, do people go back to college to figure it out?
Well, I think it's a combination, but I think the technology is changing way too fast when it comes to, you can't almost keep up with it. There's so much. I mean, just what the content that gets shared on a weekly basis, the new models that come out, the LLMs, the new, everything's AI. But again, where are the guardrails? I mean, what's protecting this from going off the rails? Yeah, you can launch a Claude bot, but what happens when you go ahead and launch OpenClaw, and then I've seen people like AI is resetting their bank, their AI is buying stuff, and AI is doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So you have to have guardrails. And I think it really comes down to national security. And to answer your question, think it's a combination of different things, but I don't think the problem with traditional education is almost anything you want to learn something about. It was amazing because, you know, the belt on my my lawnmower broke, the drive belt. You know, it's one of a push lawnmower, but it's got the drive belt on that propels the wheels, makes it easier to go up and down. And I've got a big space to cut. And people go like, why don't you buy a rider mower? I'm like, until I can't do a rider mower, Jeff. The exercise is amazing. I have a lot of hills. It takes me about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and it's amazing exercise. If it comes to the point where I get a rider, sure, I can get a rider and drink a beer on it, but I think it's really good exercise. And what do? Look up one video. What does it say? Oh, you got to take the whole transmission apart. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Take the whole. And then the second video is like, oh no, there's a little door here. You just do this, you unload this thing, you push up the transmission, boom, you put the other belt broke, you put the other belt on, pop it back down, and boom. And all of a sudden it's like, it went from, you know, 3 hours of work to about, I don't know, it took me about 5 minutes to engineer it. So again, it's like somebody took the time to figure it out, put it up there. Are you going to teach someone that? I mean, if you're repairing lawnmowers, okay, it's a very niche type of thing, but this applies to everything. I'm going to fix something on my truck. I go, boom, either can fix it or I can. I realize I got to outsource it to somebody who knows it. But that's why there's always continuing education for every sort of company. I don't care what you're part of. There's some kind of continuing education, Jeff, or whatever you're doing. And learning today is phenomenal. All the stuff I've learned from AI, man, there's just tons of people out there sharing amazing stuff, workflows, how they did it. You know, I'll share, hey, I figured this piece of it out. You know, we share stuff together. Like, hey, I learned that you can do it this way. It's just a different time. We're not learning stuff that's been around for 300 years, how to do it. This stuff is changing daily and weekly.
Changing fast. It's changing so fast. And that's the point. I even tell my son, you know, that you got to get with AI. You got to figure it out. You're not going to learn it in school. The fact that technology is moving at such a rapid pace, what we need are people that understand the basics and understand how to adapt and understand how they can teach themselves. Because, you know, to your point, right now you can go on YouTube. You have to scour the internet to get data. And if you go to AI doesn't always have all the information. You know, over the past few days, you know, I've become an aquarium expert, and, you know, all this science that goes into running an aquarium. We got this aquarium, had an ammonia spike, almost lost our big fish. And so I had to move the big fish into a quarantine tank, and I have a little cleaning fish with them to keep the tank clean. So I had to move them into a quarantine tank, and I had to use spring water because I didn't have any water. We had this massive ammonia spike, and the fish almost died. And so now I'm trying to understand, like, how do I get this back into regulation? I've been trying everything to regulate it. So now I've got to go through the science of it and trying to learn about ammonia and how does the ammonia, you know, and then there's chemicals that you put in that every time you do a water change that bind the ammonia, doesn't actually get rid of ammonia. And I like getting way too in depth into something I didn't really want to learn. Right now I've gone down a rabbit hole, like over the past couple of days. That's all I've been doing. It's just like constantly like filling, you know, ordering stuff and figuring out the science. And now I've got all these gadgets to, you know, check chemicals and the chemical imbalance. But the thing is, the point with that is that you're constantly learning. You know, you can't stop learning. And so many people think you go to a 4-year school or you go to college and you're going to have everything you need to know. You really don't even have a foundation, unfortunately. You know, so you need people that are disciplined, that can figure out how to keep learning. And I had another conversation with Aaron over this, which is studying language. You know, he's studying a language in school, doesn't feel like, and I believe that at this point they should have had him at a level of fluency by now, but he's not confident that that's happened, and he wants to learn other languages. So look, you got to do it yourself. You know, and he was going back and saying, oh, when you're younger, it's easier to learn language. I said, yeah, that's true. You absorb it, but you can't stop learning, and 100% you can become fluent in other languages. You know, I'm proof of that. You know, I've done it, you know, and I've done it multiple times, learned and lost. It's amazing how fast you can learn language. You can become competent, be able to speak. And if you don't use it, you lose it. But it's amazing, you know, little things, you know, you just got to keep learning. Who said, never stop learning? I like that one right there. Never stop learning. Yeah, that's it. You got to
Yeah,
keep going.
Socrates, eternal student right there. And
There
Jim
it
D
is.
says that he uses advanced language models, AI, to help him compose the best literary work of his life. AI freaked
you
out
go.
at the final product. Field theology, trimetaphor, indentries, tropes, etc. How did you? I'm just curious. Did you train an LLM, or did you? I'm just curious what you used to for the advanced language model, or you just use something off the shelf or something. But yeah, colleges now have apps to identify if a student's using AI, ChatGPT on their test. They do, but you can also figure out ways to beat that. I mean, your AI is as good as
You got
your.
to teach them how to use it.
Yeah, and the problem with younger people doing it is they don't have that critical thinking, because you get a point where you get a little life experience. So like I would say us, people in the chat have a little bit of life experience. You go, okay, that's bullshit, and you go like, no, that's not what I'm looking. But when you're younger, you don't really know. And then if you're not using AI as a tool, a research tool, and say, show me the citations. I want to see the exact citations where you're pulling this from, and then put the page numbers on there. So if you don't do that, if you're not telling it that, you have to check it, man. You just don't take, okay. Now, even going through this document and creating this, I cross-referenced it. I was like, yeah, that's pretty much it. I read through it, read the paragraphs. All it did was take paragraph stuff and kind of just put it into bullet points. There's some redundancy in here, which is good, but I think it all comes back to the same type of thing. But you have to always, this stream's AI generated. Be a lot easier if it was.
AI assisted. It's AI assisted.
I'd be working. It is sometimes AI assisted in many ways. But somebody brought up the Clarity Act in here. Anyway, but here's what's interesting. The SAVE Act. The SAVE Act has got to pass, and there's been some maneuvering going on. Unfortunately, every speaker we've had that's been a Republican speaker has been a freaking rhino. I don't know how. They're owned. They're just the dumbest people ever. You got Thune, who's a complete moron. Every single time you can count on a moron having that position. It was Mitch McConnell before that. They're just moron rhinos, Republican in name only. But here is Senator John Kennedy and what he thinks is going to happen with the SAVE Act, which is basically locking, you have to have an ID to vote. Imagine everywhere in the world you need ID, but not in the U.S. Democrats say it's racist. What it really is their voter base.
They're racist.
At that hearing the other day when you had Secretary Noman there, they were asking her, are you going to actually have ICE at the polling places? Well, why would you? Only illegals can't vote, or can they? Why were they so worried about ICE showing up at polling stations? Because this is their base. They were importing all these voters. You see what happened what happened in New York City. If you look at the people who were born in New York City, born and bred there their whole entire life, they were 55, 60% of a candidate. If you look at the foreign-borns, they were 70% on Mamdani. So the foreign-borns who come and relocate. So when you bring in a class of people who are our adversaries, they're not rooting. They don't care about the United States. They don't care. They want to tear it down. People were like, how could they elect them? Because that's the majority who voted for him were foreign-born people. They were illegals. There's probably some tomfoolery in there. But here's John Kennedy on the SAVE Act and what he thinks might happen with it.
Well, the Senate is notoriously slow. Sometimes it takes us months to get nothing done. But the SAVE Act is a priority. I'm a co-author. John, I agree with everything the president said in his tweet, though I haven't seen it. John Thune has promised to bring the bill to the floor. I don't know when he's going to do that, but he is going to do that. I anticipate it will be in the next few weeks. Will it pass? I think so. It just depends. We've got some free range. The Democrats will be against it, but we've got some free range chickens on the Republican side, and we're going to have to go gather them up.
So to get to 60, though, is the thought that this would be a reconciliation bill, so you don't have to get to the 60? Is there a single Democrat? Are there several Democrats who would vote with you on the SAVE?
One.
I would do it through reconciliation. We could short circuit all of this, but I'm in a minority. I have chased Senator Thune, my good friend, like he stole Thanksgiving to try to get him to do a reconciliation. This would be perfect for reconciliation.
Okay. I also want to touch on the economy because you heard Senator Warren.
Where does he come up with this stuff? I chased him like he stole Thanksgiving.
Free range. We have a free range chicken, so they're out there running around in the yard. You got to chase them down because they're basically it's just a bunch of
Oh my
neutered
God.
morons is what they are. Basically,
Old Town is saying, I could not understand a word out of Rhino Mitch McConnell's mouth speaking on the act on the House floor. That's because the guy shouldn't be there. We've gone past normalcy. You know, they need to remove him. And just free up and vacate that spot. It's such bad form to allow this to continue. It's such a mockery to the people that elect them. Mitch is a Biden type vegetable. He's mentally gone. His staff is running things. It'd be easier if he was in the memory ward in Texas.
But this is an easy thing to fix. You say, listen, we don't think he's suitable for office, and this is really Thune's job. Thune says, listen, I'm sorry, you have to go down. You have to take a test, to see if you can function. And a doctor's going to say, no, he can't function. Get him out, get a replacement, and they're done. That's what you're supposed to do. And you're not supposed to leave a vegetable in there. It's getting to the point of where it's like same thing they did to Biden, where the guy didn't know where he was half the time and completely lost. But it's same things with McConnell. Can't stand up, starts short circuiting. But this is really the responsibility of the speaker or the majority leader in the Senate to actually say, okay, it's time. You're not with us anymore. It's time to go get a test done.
And the voters to recall him. The voters 100%. Need to step.
Yeah, it's time. I mean, there's so many. It's just you can't continue this tomfoolery where you got this complete moron asshole. Yeah. Now he's out. He's retiring. He's gone, but he's just going to be a pain in the ass until. And then let's transition over to this this nut job. So when you have a socialist Islamist, and again, what elected him was a lot of foreign-born coming in. You start working up a majority. The people who were born and bred in New York did not want this guy. Okay, so you can't blame it on everybody, but he did win. So he says, there was this big attack, right? So yesterday, listen how he positions this, Jeff. White supremacist Jake Lang organized a protest outside Gracie Mansion, which is the governor's mansion. So Gracie Mansion, rooted in bigotry and racism. Such hate has no place in New York City. It's an affront to our city's values and the unity that defines who we are. What followed was even more disturbing. Violence at a protest is never acceptable. The attempt to use explosive devices and hurt others is not only criminal, it's reprehensible and the antithesis of who we are. And he sounds like Obama. It's not who we are. We're not who we are. Blah, 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 blah. I want to thank the brave men and women of the New York Police Department who acted quickly to keep New Yorkers safe. Our officers ran towards danger without hesitation, demonstrating once again, blah, blah, blah. My administration, okay. Now what really happened? Okay, so here's Geiger Capital calling him out. This is insane. Mandami calls out first and by name the white supremacists for protesting, but he leaves out the fact there were two Muslim men, Islamists, Amir Balat and Ibrahim Kayumi, who were arrested by the New York Police Department after they yelled Allahu Akbar and threw a homemade bomb into the crowd. Now, you think that was something that should have been first inside of he says violence is never acceptable. Yeah, they threw a homemade bomb and they yelled Allahu Akbar. You think anything's weird going on there, Jeff? Like anything we should probably have to know about? I mean, holy cow. Holy cow.
We should probably note that things like that are just getting started.
There was another dust up there in New York City again. I've seen two flights. There was a flight from Nashville to Fort Lauderdale that had to make an emergency landing in Atlanta because you had a guy in there, an Islamist, threatening to blow the plane up. You had another dust up on another flight. I mean, this is starting to become, you have all the terror cells that were admitted in here with the 15 to 20 million that came in during the Joe Biden administration are starting to take root here, Jeff. I mean, it's exactly what we're seeing here. What did you think was going to happen? They're already here. It's not something.
And those activities, Chip, are meant to sow chaos and uncertainty. And what the media will report back and talk about lone wolf incidents and things like that. These aren't lone wolves. At some point, they got indoctrinated, and they're part of the agenda. And there's a whole litany of things that have happened in this country and beyond. and they always try to explain it away with the lone wolf, and that does, at some point again, they came in contact, they got indoctrinated, and this is their objective. So that should put that to rest. It wasn't, they didn't just wake up one day and be like, hey, you know, I got this great idea. No, something else happened, you know. So we got to root that out and figure out, because it's just not compatible. We can't have that in this country, you know. It doesn't fit this country.
Jeff, speaking of not compatible, makes a really good argument right here. I love this dude. Let's watch this.
Sincerely hope that this is the most disgusting story I report on in 2026, but I doubt it. In Pakistan, a Muslim man kidnapped a 13-year-old Christian girl named Maria. He held her captive for 6 months, raped her, forced her to convert to Islam, and forced her to marry him. When her father reported the abduction, the Sharia court ruled in favor of granting custody to the kidnapper. This is the shit I mean when I say that Islam is not compatible with the civilized world. This dude kidnapped a 13-year-old girl, kept her for 6 months, forced her to convert to Islam, married her, and proceeded to have his way with a 13-year-old girl. And then the court decided that her husband should keep custody. Imagine being this father. Imagine being a father who lost his 13-year-old daughter to this depraved fucking lunatic. Then you're so relieved to find her. And then a court tells you, no, the kidnapper gets to keep her. This shit does not belong in 2026. If you believe in this shit, you don't belong in 2026.
It's very clear. It's very, very clear. Yeah, I don't know where the disconnect is. I don't know where these social media, you know, quasi fake MAGA conservative fake Christians, you know, come out and they're going out and defending all this stuff, you know, and it's mind-boggling to me. It just there's such a disconnect right now, and thank God, you know, we're able to see through it, and people see through it, and people are stepping up and really doing what's right. You know, I'm glad to see, you know, voices like that.
It's about time. I mean, but it's not compatible, and it's like, I mean, we're seeing this stuff happen in the UK of all places. My God, it's getting to be just completely ridiculous. If we let's go ahead and head over to talk a little bit about Iran here. But in Iran, this is like the #1 song, the Trump song. When you hear Trump's voice come on, and hear the Khomeini is dead, but listen to this. What do you see there, Jeff? You see Iranian flags. You see an Israel flag. You see, I think there's an American flag in there somewhere too.
Is dead. Is dead. Is dead. Is dead. Ayatollah Khamenei is dead.
Oh my gosh! It
wasn't AI generated. That was real. That was for real.
I don't think that was AI generated. I don't think it was. Could be though. Who knows? You can't tell anymore.
Yeah,
Point of it is, doesn't, you know, whether the song was or whatever, and it's Trump's voice, but it was you know, we're seeing stuff all over the place. It's pretty impressive. I mean, what I'm amazed by is you had American soldiers that died in this conflict, and who is standing up? Are they having vigils in the United States by Americans, by Democrats, by conservatives? No. Look at this. This is in Paris. This is underneath the Eiffel Tower, that you got French Israelis, Iranians, Lebanese come together to dance to YMCA. That's why I can't play it on here. I mean, I'll show the video, but it's just they're dancing to YMCA, and then you'll see when it spins around, they're standing right at the base of the Eiffel Tower, but they're dancing. They're singing in harmony together. I mean, man, you would not expect to see this.
This is what the naysayers don't want to see happen. They don't want to see real peace coming together. The Lebanese people deserve freedom. The Syrian people deserve freedom. Getting liberated from this, you know, this state, from this Islamo-fascist state of Iran, the way they move their pieces around and funded the military terrorist occupation by Hezbollah in Lebanon and everything that they orchestrated in Syria. This is it right there. And you're seeing the coming together, how they created and you'll have so many people, and it really is disgusting to see the level of misinformation, and really just I don't want to say naivete, and I don't want to say stupidity, but I see people still throwing around Zionists and Israel, and there's all these posts now that Israel is going to be the big benefactor and they're trying to take over the Middle East. How well have they done over all these years? When they've given up land for peace, like this and any land that like the Sinai Desert, for instance, that was land taken through an offensive act against Israel, and Egypt lost it because they attacked Israel and they lost it, and then Israel gave up that land in 1980, back to Egypt for peace. And there's all the
But even Clinton, what he had on the table,
the stuff that he had on the table,
and
it's
they
just
rejected it.
insane. And they rejected it. Israel was willing to do anything for peace with their neighbors, and this is just proof positive, right? And I know just from traveling around the world and doing business with different people, and the conversations that we've had in and around these topics, within the Middle East, and it's just really interesting because at the end of the day, the regional influence, they wanted to get rid of Iran. Iraq was a threat. Iran was the major threat. And when those two were at each other's throats, it was different. But now we see this major shift happening, from the UAE to Saudi, across the board, to where they want to move in a different direction. They're investing in technology. They're investing in robotics. They're investing in AI. They know the direction that things are moving in. They've got tons of money. They want to be an epicenter for business growth. They don't want to be an Islamo-fascist state like what Iran was turning into, and so although, you see, and so we're starting to see some major changes happening, and you got to embrace that, and the Iranian people, the Persian people are the most amazing people,
100%.
and this is the coexistence that has to happen for peace. And those that have been speaking out against Trump, Chip, sorry to ramble on, that he's getting involved in these endless wars or what. I mean, come on, they don't even understand the game he's playing. They don't understand what he's setting up. They're so stupid, but it's such a brilliant strategic move. Venezuela, Iran, cutting out China's influence in the region. China doesn't even know what hit them. Putting China back into a box, and China had to be put in a box. And we talked about the cybersecurity with the IP infringements, the things that China's done over the past decades to steal our property rights for everything, and all this shit that they've replicated and duplicated right down to their electric vehicles and everything. I mean, it's crazy. There's a handful of companies that out of China that make some amazing products, like super, super high end, that are competitive on a national scale, and all the rest is stolen IP. It's amazing to me. So how do you put them in a box? We're seeing it happen right now.
There's always going to be good with bad, but if you look at this right here, here's Iranians in Houston, Texas. They held a memorial to honor the fallen American soldiers who fought against the Islamic Republic. And, I can't play this one because they play Proud to be American, so I can't play that. Fortunately, they always, instead of just seeing it, but you can just kind of see what's going on there. I mean, look at this. This is phenomenal. They had pictures of all the fallen, which is fantastic. You had Iranian flags there flying with, the United States flags. But in Houston, they know. I mean, it's amazing, the outpouring of love and strength. Look at the flowers. Look at the conversation that was happening. This is it's very impressive as a people. But Jeff, you mentioned what happened in Venezuela. Look at how quick that collapsed. Oh my God! Endless wars, endless war, out diplomatic relations. As of this week, diplomatic relations, oil flowing back into the U.S. But the bigger picture that people are missing here is it really destroyed what happened to. You think about China and look at what's going on. Yeah, some gas prices have spiked, but they'll come back down. And the very first ship was ushered by the Strait of Hormuz by a Navy ship, went through smooth, no issues, no problems. And who's going to be taking care of that? The United States. Where's the insurance going to flow? From the United States. Cut off England, Lloyd's of London. It's 2% of their entire GDP. It doesn't seem like a lot, but that's just insuring all these big ships. They were the only game in town. You either paid them or, good luck. If something bad happened, you were going to be at fault. So you have to love that. I mean, and then if you think about too, the what's his name? What the heck is his name here? Let me see if I can find it here. The Crown Prince, Reza Pahlavi, who they've agreed that he would be the interim leader of Iran until they can hold elections. But listen to what he says here. Listen to this.
I went to Israel 2 years ago to show that we are the descendants of Cyrus the Great, who 25 centuries ago helped Jewish slaves be freed from the Babylonian government, helped them rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, a country that in the Second World War period gave refuge to Jews escaping the tyranny of Hitler, a country that, unlike this regime, wants to have cordial relationship with the state of Israel and the rest of our neighbors.
It's truly amazing. I mean, the fact is, you always meet someone from Iran. They always say they're Persian, right? They'll say Persian because they don't want to be associated with the government of Iran. They certainly don't want to take that on. So they'll say, yeah, they're Persian because they are, and that they're not Muslims. I mean, a lot of this stuff was converting, and women couldn't wait to take those hijabs off. They're sitting there dancing, and you look at images when the Shah of Iran was there in 79. You look at the images going back to 70s and 60s. They were Western. They were dressing like Western style, and there's some they're beautiful women over there. I mean, it's incredible, and they got them all covered up, maybe because they could be gay. I don't know if it's. Look at this one. Look at this here.
Trial of a Pakistani man. Prosecutors accuse him of plotting to assassinate American political leaders, including President Trump. He says Iran was behind it all. Alexis McAdams is outside the Brooklyn Federal Courthouse in New York City. Alexis.
Hi, Harris. Yeah, an interesting case that really not a lot of viewers knew about when it happened in 2024 because President Trump was out on the campaign trail and there was so much going on and so many other threats. But that's when police say a Asif merchant came here from Pakistan because he says Iranian leadership told him to, said hunt down President Trump, hire a couple of guys that can take him out at a political rally. So take a look here on your screen. This is who we're talking about. He's sitting there inside of that Brooklyn Federal Courthouse right now as those closing arguments are underway. 47 years old. He's facing federal terrorism charges and could spend the rest of his life behind bars. Merchant testified, Harris, in his own federal trial, and he explained this, making this drawing again that he said Iranian leaders gave him back in 2024. Really doesn't look like there's much to it. It looks like, like a kid drew it or something, but that's the sketch of a rally site. Merchant was arrested just one day before Trump was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania, and later told the feds that he believed Iran was behind that attack because it was so similar to the plan that they gave him. Kind of get up in an elevated place, go to a rally, and create all this chaos so the gunman can get away. Merchant says Iran wants revenge for the killing of their top military leader, Qasem Soleimani. And threats continue as the U.S. just bombed Iran and took out its Ayatollah. So we're expecting even more threats here, possibly on the homeland, according to the feds.
Well, this is what Trump said. He was asked point blank. He was on Air Force One. He said, they tried twice to take me out, took them out first. So this whole narrative that we're bowing down at Israel's feet and it's Israel's war and this and that, there's so much more at stake for the United States on a larger scale. They want to take out Trump. I mean, you can see that those are tied back. You got here is a Pakistani man who was also arrested. And of course, the reason you don't hear about it in the media is because that doesn't fit the narrative, right? This whole idea of enforcing the fact that, yeah, there's a reason that they're going after Iran, but all of these people you mentioned, Jeff, all these retards, if you will, supposedly they're conservative, like the Hodge twins and Tucker Carlson and all these, Megan, all of them are just, I don't know what happened to them, man. They just got off on a strange tangent, but I mean, it's so far from reality.
It's bizarre. It's really bizarre to see what they're grasping, and then for them to come out anti-Trump, and they're so adamant that they know what they're talking about. Tucker maybe, Tucker, out of all of them, was probably the most researched, but I don't even know if that's the case. I don't know, where he got, we'd have to dig in a little bit. He read teleprompters and gave opinions on teleprompter fed information. So, as you start connecting the dots, not sure. I don't know, not, I never liked him. I was never a fan of his to begin with.
Who's that?
Never really, Tucker.
Tucker. Yeah.
A lot of people were like big fans. He started his career, I think, in CNN.
Yeah, he used to do point counterpoint.
Right. And those are, I like those types of shows, kind of like Hannity and Combs. I like the Hannity and Combs show because I like the back and forth,
Combs was
dialogue. I always thought that was a lot of fun.
It was like Combs. It's like fighting a guy with no arms or legs. That's how it was with Combs. He was just the dumbest guy ever. It was just so sad.
But he was a shock jock. He wasn't like deep into politics, and somehow he ended up finding that.
But he was just so useless. He couldn't even make a counter argument, which is very, it's kind of how the Democrat thing goes. But look at what's going on over there with the UK. Jeff, read this. This is one of Trump's statements, but just read this. Check this out.
This is probably one of the greatest statements ever that Trump is.
Other than Starmer's no Churchill, yeah.
Oh my God. The United Kingdom, this is coming from Trump. He posted it on Truth Social here. So the United Kingdom, our once great ally, maybe the greatest of them all, is finally giving serious thought to sending 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East. That's okay, Prime Minister Starmer. We don't need them any longer. But we will remember, we don't need people to join wars after we've already won. President Donald J. Trump.
This is fantastic, Jeff. I mean, he's been made such an ass on the world stage. And the funny thing, I just read something today that they contacted him 17 days before they went in. Now, how could the U.S. have contacted him 17 days if they went in, if Israel told them when to go in? This is like why it's so easily provable. But Jeff, this guy crushes it on such a level. This guy, John Conroy, he says, we had a good thing, Britain. We had a really good thing. You taught us the game. Mahan studied you. We just wrote a bigger checks. The deal was simple. We spend the trillions, fight the hard wars. We even let you sit out in Vietnam. And you hold the choke points you already own. You run Lloyd's of London, ships in the Narrows, insurance in the halls. That's all you had to do. We would have had your back. We would back your interest with the strongest military and financial markets in the world. That was the deal. Now look at you. You gave up Arden, fine. You gave up Diego Garcia so we could reach it with bombers. Now you're giving that away too to a Chinese client state. You built Israel to guard Suez. Now your foreign secretary threatens to arrest their prime minister. You built a military base to back it up. Iran hit your base in Cyprus. You didn't even have one warship in the Mediterranean. Spain got there first. Spain, socialist Spain, leftist Spain. You gave up Hong Kong, but backed Taiwan. Now you're letting China build the largest embassy in Europe on top of London's fiber optic cables. We gave you Five Eyes. You gave Beijing Signet platform in the heart of the city. Gibraltar, 300 years, actual sieges. Now the Spanish run your border checks. You lost South Africa, but you kept the Falklands so we could overfly the Magellan Strait. Argentina could probably take that with rowboats today. Your king kept ownership of the Canadian, Australian, and New Zealand navies to fill the gaps. Those navies are a laughing stock. Your warship and bombers patrolled the gap. Now you don't have enough, but you would also don't want us buying Greenland. Fine, you do it. With what? You gave London, this is, what is this here? I don't even know what this is. International Maritime Organization to regulate shipping. You back the EU agenda to carbon tax every ship and build a woke UN slush fund. Iran closed Hormuz. In the 80s, 540 ships got hit. Lloyd's never blinked because your Navy was there. Now Lloyd's cancels because it isn't. You scrapped your only amphibious ships, sold them to Brazil. You have more admirals than warships. You built 2 light carriers, but they keep springing leaks and you don't have enough escort ships to support them. The English Channel stopped Napoleon, stopped Hitler. Now you can't even stop rubber dinghies. Oh, geez. You had one job, have the warships, diplomatic backbone, and insurance to support shipping through the straits. That's it. That's all we asked. You blew it. choke point by choke point. You called it progress. Now hundreds of ships are stuck in the Persian Gulf, and the world is blaming the United States. But that's okay. All these solar panels you bought from China will keep you warm in that dreary weather, I guess.
Oh my God.
That's just an assault, Jeff. There's so many.
My God.
That's
There's so much there.
That's an assault, Jeff. Read this. This is a shorter one, Jeff, but read this one. This one's by David Collier. Look at this.
That was just perfect. We refused to help the U.S. fight Iran when Iran had been attacking the UK for decades. Our government sees our national flag as a symbol of hate. Our campuses are so overrun with Islamism, the UAE won't even send its kids here. But hey, let's pretend Trump is the problem. And that's it. The groups that Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Egypt don't allow are allowed into the West. Not just allowed in the West, but are allowed to run for parliamentary positions in England. And we're seeing the same thing popping up here in the U.S., where they let these organizations, without backtracking, they don't try to connect dots. You know, people are just, naive. People just want to live, right? In the United States, people want to go, they want to watch hockey, they want to go watch football, they want to watch basketball. They don't want to get into the intrigue of where people came from. They don't want to do any back research on where these organizations. So they want to take everything at face value. These guys coming from over there understand very well that that's how we want to live here. And so they take advantage of it. And people are being, fed, a whole bunch of BS, and now it's, it's time to wake up. That's why crypto, blockchain, power, everything that's happening, you've got to connect in the geopolitics. If you don't see all these pieces being moved around, then your investment, you might as well not be invested in crypto. Might as well take it out of the crypto markets, take it out of all markets, because you got to get a good gauge of what's happening. I mean, it's amazing to me.
But this Neverroy Singham too, I saw some people connecting the dots on where the money came from. So the money's flowing out so it can come back in, from outside of the U.S. Public enemy number one. I would agree with that. It's amazing. Remember the Iran number one. Remember the Iron Sheik?
Iron Sheik.
Remember the Iron Sheik from World Wrestling? Yeah, that was funny. But look at this right here. So this is it. This stuff is resonating big time inside the UK. I've seen so many reports on it that they're freaking out over there of what Starmer is doing. But listen, what they think the next step is going. Listen to this guy.
I agree with that, and I was certainly one of those who argued, even before Trump became president, that his relationship with Keir Starmer would not work out well. And in my view, there is an ocean apart between President Trump and Keir Starmer. There are completely different types of leader. In fact, Keir Starmer is not even a leader at all. In fact, I think Keir Starmer is really a clown on the world stage. And President Trump views Keir Starmer as a fair weather friend, somebody who has really betrayed, I think, the trust that the United States has placed in the United Kingdom. And I do think the special relationship is now at its lowest point since the Suez Crisis of 1956. And Keir Starmer destroys everything in its path, frankly. And also, Keir Starmer's Chagos surrender deal is a huge knife in the back for the United States. It's a pro-China deal. It undermines America and also undermines, of course, the United Kingdom as well. And fortunately, Keir Starmer has also torpedoed the Chagos surrender deal, which I think is dead in the water now. And it's hard to see how this relationship can actually move forward. And I do anticipate that Keir Starmer will be out of office actually within a few weeks.
Interesting. So you're predicting a much earlier exit than some for the Prime Minister. I guess Niall, the difficulty is for Labour is what candidates do they have sitting in their cabinet? Because I guess when I look at them, Ed Miliband, Angela Rayner, sort of the sort of front runners here, which of those would repair this special relationship? Because to me, it doesn't seem like any of them would also quite match or be favourable with inside the Labour Party at least to work closely with this president of the United States, who, as you said, does love the United Kingdom. He's confessed that love openly very many times. He talks about his mother. In the last slapping down of the Prime Minister, he prefaced all of that with saying, my mother was from the United Kingdom. I love that country, but this is a disaster. And he said, that the Prime Minister's no Winston Churchill. We don't have a Winston Churchill currently sitting in the government, do we? That's the problem.
No. In fact, I think, Alex, they're all useless, really, in terms of the contenders to take over from
the worst.
Keir Starmer. I mean, they're all as bad as Keir Starmer, if not even worse. And if you think about someone like Angela Rayner as the next prime minister, I mean, she would be an absolute disaster. I mean, she's another Trump-hating, far left-wing socialist. And I think that the entire Labour government actually is rotten to the core. And I look forward to the moment when this government is thrown out of office, and hopefully we'll have an early general election to make that happen. And it's clearly in Washington, I think there's zero confidence whatsoever actually in Keir Starmer or in anyone who follows him as Labour leader. And I do think the Trump presidency is looking forward to a post-Labour Britain, likely headed by Nigel Farage and Reform, that they can actually work with closely, because this Labour government really is impossible to work with on many issues. Actually, it's a fundamentally, I think, anti-American regime in power that hates the Trump presidency, and frankly, I think Keir Starmer hates the British people as well in many respects. Look at the Chagos surrender deal. It is a fundamentally anti-American and anti-British deal that Keir Starmer has pushed forward. This is a prime minister full of self-loathing towards his own country, actually. And I can't wait for this horrible Labour government to be booted out of office, because they are causing immense damage at home and abroad. How much longer can the British people survive under this absolutely horrific socialist government that has about 15% support right now?
Yeah, 15% support. That sounds just phenomenal, doesn't it? It's actually phenomenal. And I used to really think Nigel Farage, but to me, he's like what we call a rhino over here. Just like he's like, you can't deport everybody. You got to do no. That's the wrong. That's not. You've learned nothing from Trump. You have to deport as many as you possibly can, because you're not gonna save it, Jeff. It's not gonna happen. You got to get rid of them. It's 100%. I love the fact that this guy. Every once in a while, you'll see somebody just in a local community. It shows up as their local council meeting, and just has iron balls and doesn't take anything. Like this is gonna be. I'm gonna warn. There's gonna be some language here. But I just love when somebody gets up there and says exactly what they want to say and exercise their free speech. Check this out, Jeff.
You let her talk about a non-budget issue first, something to do with robotics or some such shit. Anyhow, I wanted to talk first, before I talk about budget items, the fact that you denied a disabled veteran access to this meeting this evening because she didn't have a copy of her driver's license on her. She gave date of birth. She was willing to have the police department run her for warrants, background checks, NCIC, sex offender website, all that other great stuff. So you actually denied access to this disabled veteran this evening because she didn't have a copy of her Maryland driver's license on her. I think that's repugnant. I think you people are actually wise.
These are the Democrats, by the way, that think it's racist if you have to show up and vote with that. But a meeting which is meaningless, right? Just people speaking their voice to the the local council here.
We have a constitution is to restrain you sons of bitches the way that you guys violate our First Amendment and Fourth Amendment civil rights and 14th Amendment civil rights by treating people differently based on their viewpoint. So anyway, I really don't have much to say about the budget. I actually have a legislative prayer. So I'm going to form
this is great, Jeff.
My statement in the form of a prayer. Dear Lord, please give this board full of morons the wisdom to spend less money on denying veterans access to public meetings and citizens access to public meetings, and spend more money on disabled children and children that need it. Please, Lord, allow these fucking morons to stop giving all of our money to stupid LGBTQ plus programs and pushing the transgender agenda on our students. Please, Lord, give these fucking idiots
Mr. Porter,
a clue.
Mr. Porter.
I'm sorry, you interrupting my prayer, sir?
The clock has stopped.
For what? For what?
Asked before about the decorum of this.
I'm sorry, my prayer is not subject to your approval, Mr. Rose.
I'm just warning you.
It's a legislative prayer. It's protected by the First Amendment.
You may continue, but
I'm going to continue with my prayer, sir.
Continue.
May God have mercy on Dean Rose's soul. He obviously doesn't have one. Dear Lord, please protect our children from these monsters who are trying to convert all of them into being transgender. Dear Lord, please protect our students from mass shooters who all tend to be transgender. And dear Lord, please allow these worthless motherfuckers to stop pushing transgender ideology on children.
Thank you. Mr. Porter, you're done. Thank you.
I'm sorry, you cutting my speech off?
Yep, you're done.
You stopped my prayer because you didn't approve of the words in the prayer?
You're in violation of our policy.
What policy do you have on prayer?
Thank you.
What policy do you have on prayer?
We do have a policy on
what words are
decorum,
illegal? You didn't provide a list of words.
Porter.
You didn't provide a list of words that I can't say before the meeting, sir,
Mr.
so you
Porter,
can't
if you'd step
regulate.
away from the podium, please.
No, because it's my turn to speak. It's my time to speak. You didn't tell me what words I couldn't say. You didn't say fuck, faggot, queer, dyke, motherfucker, cunt,
That's enough.
worthless piece of shit, cocksucker, commie statist pig,
Officer.
worthless fucking whore, sellout to the people, traitor to the Constitution, violator of civil rights, for that of veterans and average everyday Americans. You are a repugnant pig, sir. I hope you lose your election.
Excuse me, everyone, please.
Oh, I didn't finish my speech. Oh, I appreciate it. I didn't finish. I was in the middle of a prayer.
I'm asking you to leave. You are not required to leave.
You required me to leave?
You are required to
Are
leave.
you threatening to arrest me if I don't leave the podium and don't finish my prayer here?
I'm asking you to leave.
Okay, great. Escort me that way because my shit's over there. Pipsqueak. Go.
Pipsqueak. I like when he starts yelling all the words. I'm sorry, man. This is just years of bottled up stuff, Jeff. It's just, people have had it.
Jim say bad taste swearing in a prayer, and I would say, from that perspective, I think his point, and also in terms of the fact that they're trying to regulate his speech, whereas they try to regulate everybody else's speech. It'd be nice. Hey, you're going to do a prayer, but the point got across, and there they are trying to regulate what he's saying. And apparently, in prayer, they didn't tell him what he can't say.
No,
so I think.
Well, he put it behind a prayer because now you're infringing on his rights as a religion. So, but Jeff, this is kind of weird. Somebody caught this on camera. This is the kind of, since the Air Force and the Navy have been decimated.
Yeah.
And she's laughing already. Inside of Iran, look at this. They got the magic carpets out, Jeff. Look at this. Guys on a magic carpet firing a weapon. Look at this. Right up against the big guy. Trying to shoot down flying behind the F-14 and 16 on the magic carpet. It's horrible. It's crazy, man. Who would have thought that could happen? That's crazy. Okay, I believe that is AI, Mark Smithson.
You think so? That was it.
The magic carpet ride.
AI generated. That was.
You have to love it. And Mr. Beast is running a new contest. You want to see what his new contest is?
No. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Beast. You guys know Mr. Beast. He's the most famous YouTuber out there, but he always runs all kinds of challenges. This one's weird, though. I got to be honest with you. I was surprised with this one. Look at this one.
I brought 30 of the dumbest Instagram influencers in the world to Dubai. But instead of chocolate, we have a very different surprise for them.
There's BB.
Ladies, your new challenge. Escape Dubai.
They're all in their dresses, high heels.
Oh my God. Who comes up with this stuff?
I don't know, man. Escape Dubai. What the hell? That was a rug pull right there. Rug pull.
Yeah.
Aladdin fighting on the thing. You gotta, yeah, it's crazy, Jeff. I mean, it's really insanely crazy what's going on out there. So
that's too much.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? That's all.
All of their IQ tests came back negative.
That's about the size of it. I'm like, on top of you're dealing with 68 IQ on average, so that's not helping any matters much. You know, you can't educate yourself out of this situation. Not if you have somebody, you know, we considered mentally retarded in the United States.
That's it. Ice Wine saying the new Iranian Navy will have glass bottom boats so they can see the old Iranian Navy at the bottom of the ocean there.
I love it. Suckers. I love it. Suckers. Sucker MCs.
Epstein next to Mr. Beast.
So I was to see if anyone caught that. That was Epstein. Yeah, they had Epstein in the I was surprised nobody said. I was checking the comments to see if anybody noticed that. I didn't point that out, but yeah. I started but Mr. Beast, imagine that's like a real competition. Yeah. And you knew something was like when I watched that, I go, honestly, I really thought it was real. I was like, I didn't catch it. I was like, oh, it's Mr. Beast, got a new comp. Like I was listening, he goes, we brought some of the dumbest influence. I'm like, okay, that's not that's not real. Because you know, you're playing it, you're kind of like loosely paying attention to it. Like, what is this new competition? Because he's always dreaming up all kinds of weird shit. So I was like, oh, what is this new thing? You know, I was like,
oh my God, it's brilliant.
You know, it must be something cool. I mean, he must be doing something, but yeah, it's and then you know, the fallout from Jesse Jackson's funeral, man. I mean, Jesse Jackson Jr. just unloaded. I saw this clip today where he said that 3 U.S. presidents did not know who Jesse Jackson was. And you know, he told them, don't bring politics into this. He said, everyone is welcome here, whether you're Democrat or Republican, whether you're a conservative or a liberal, whether you're left or right, don't bring your politics. Obama gets up there, starts the politics, you know, nonstop. You know, Clinton, politics. Biden, it was like nonstop with the politics. And it's like, you know, the funny thing is, like, you look at the 2 times that Jesse Jackson ran, it was funny because I remember 1984, I was in college at the time, and I remember going to one of Jesse Jackson's rallies. I went in there. I was in the middle of a square in Pittsburgh, PA. And I remember going there, and but you know who funded his campaign? Majority of it was Trump, both times he ran. But that's never mentioned, right? It's like, you know, remember Trump the racist. The racist Trump, you know, that guy. And you know, they still remain good friends. I mean, they remain good friends. Also, when he needed, you know, some office space, Trump donated office space. You know, I mean, it's like Trump did a lot for Schumer. Also, Schumer, he always gave him to his election campaign, always gave him tons of money. Look how Schumer treats him now. You know, he was always helping Schumer get reelected. I mean, because, you know, Trump was a Democrat at one point, just like most of the people on the Trump administration were. You know, a lot of them were Democrats. So. Look at that. Trump's not invited to the Obama Library opening in June. That is still the weirdest library I've ever seen. It's cool. It's like you're doing a movie on dystopian prisons, or like, you know, you could take that and build a whole city around it. You would think that's real, like out of the future, because it's so bizarre looking.
And who cares? Would want to go.
That was Sheik Epstein. 100%. The Man Show. Remember the Man Show? With Jimmy Kimmel and
the other guy, Adam
Carolla. By the way, Adam Carolla, if you want to really read a great book, is like, I gotta tell you, one of the best. I started reading the book, but then I listened to the audiobook. It's a great audiobook. Let me see, what's it called? I'm trying to find it here. Here it is. It's really one of the funniest. It's laugh out loud. And if you look at his upbringing was really, yeah, this is it right here. Let's see.
And doctor as well.
It won't let me. Yeah, this is it here. Let me just put it up on screen. But this is probably one of the funniest books I've ever read or, you know, listened to. This is the one he wrote. It's like Adam Carolla, not Taco Bell material. That's a great story. From a dump with a dirt lawn, a hero rise. But it kind of just, you know, talks about his early days, and like he was really, really poor family, man. Like just really brutally rough. Talks about he couldn't get a job. He actually lost a job at Taco Bell because they said, "I'm sorry, you're not Taco Bell material." I'm like, "You're not Taco Bell material. There's not a lot of avenues you can go down, you know."
Where do you go after that?
I mean, you know, where's your next step at that point, right? Holy shit. But
remember.
So there you
Who's
go.
the guy that used to down the beers?
What's that?
The old guy on the show that would down the beer.
I don't remember that one.
The Man Show.
I don't remember that. I remember the girls on the trampolines. Girls on trampolines. I remember all the little skits they used to do and stuff, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Next up, the Man Show.
Man
Stuff you can't even get away with now.
Can you imagine having a show like that now? It's like, come on.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's all the time we got, guys. You want to take us out of here, Jeff? And I'll go ahead hit the buzzer here.
That's it. What's today?
Today is Sunday night.
We'll be back Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's great being with you guys today. Glad we were able to get through everything, Chip. And we will check you guys out on the next one, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Chip and Jeff. Oh.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.